Hello everyone, I'm live again. I will wait for 1 minute and then I will start my another topic that is basically on the oil rig, and I will tell you more about this oil rig in next few couple of minutes. So just wait. I'm waiting for now more 30 seconds and then we'll start a video on the oil rig. Okay, so guys, thank you for watching this video. I will be today discussing on the oil rig, and before telling you something about oil rig, you should understand about the different attacks, the groups of the attackers, which basically performing target attack to the different companies. Maybe they might be the paid hackers who get paid for attacking on a company, or they might be hacking into a company based on their interest, and they're stealing the data and posting on the internet. Okay, so Oilrig is one of the group name, or we can say it's in one of the APT attack, which have been logged by the Mitre. They have they are sharing the information based on the attacks they've used, the tools they used, what the command they used to perform under that attack. So if you are seeing some patterns, similar patterns in your investigation or any alert, you can maybe map to those attacks, signatures, threats to the particular way of the attacking by different group names. So you will understand that this is a target attack and which APT it belongs to. Now if I will share my screen, let me share it with you. So I hope now you can see my screen. Oilrig, right? So this is basically the group names as per the Mitre websites. We can see there are different other groups in name also. The different groups are there already and in different APTs as well. You can see this is it. Now I'm just going through this Oilrig. So what is the point and why we are going through this? Because when you are understanding about an attacker way, how to get into the machine, how they perform the reconnaissance, how they maintain the access with the persistence, what they execute, how they perform discovery attack, what tools they use, you get more understanding about it, and you can be more confident while going in the interview and discussing on those topics. Then you can also give an examples to the interviewer in that interview. Yeah, so this is very much important to go through. I will try to cover as most I can, but this will help you to correlate in your thoughts to give an explanation with an examples also. So as we can see on the websites, as it's clearly mentioned, this is basically the Iranian threat group that marked named as Oilrig, that targeting Middle Eastern companies, mostly the financial and government, energy, chemical, and telecommunication companies, and they using basically supply chain of attacks. They are leveraging the trust with the other companies, and they're using the trust to compromising their systems, their machine, and their network. What tools they used, what technique they used, how what sub technique they used, we will be going to discuss in detail. Okay, I'm coming down now. So you can see these are all techniques used by them. Let me see if I can view this. Maybe my tray will highlight the top, the all different techniques used by this oil rig as 3 Mitre framework. Let it load. So you can understand about the different techniques basically as per the oil rig attacker group, right? The threat group. So we can see in during the initial access what they used: valid accounts. They used external remote services like VPN, email accounts for delivering a phishing email with an attachment or with a link, or they might be using some legitimate service also, and they're using command and control, and they're using WMI for sending the command to the other remote services in Windows network. So you can understand about the mapping of the specific group or attacker advisories, right? So if I'll go back to this original page, right, you would understand the techniques used by this oil rig. Okay, now I'm going through the first account discovery, right? Account discovery. So you can see the basically in the discovery session, right? Let me go back. We can come to the discovery part. Discovery is here, right? So you can see here they're marking two techniques: domain account and local account under tactic of discovery, right? So if I will be going through discovery, I can see, and they have also give the reference which used by the oil rig, the commands they what they used or to run on the endpoints after the exploiting any vulnerability. Okay, so you can understand now oil rig, once for example they have. So now I don't also understand discovery is after getting the initial access, right? So they already are now into the machine. They have already compromised the machine, and now they're running command on that. So if you are if you are investigating any machine, if there is an attack happen on that machine or not, or if you are a SOC analyst, if you are in cybersecurity, you're investigating that I want to check if machine is infected or machine is compromised, then you can see such commands being executed by the attackers, right? Such commands also being executed by the admins of for that company, but not very actively. Or then you can also correlate it with some other activity. If you can find some other traces also, they can you can consider it to be compromised. So admins might be running one command, two commands, but not all the commands usually. And running these commands, I believe the only guy who have authorized to run, they will run. Otherwise, if you are seeing this command being executed by the normal users, or you haven't seen such execution in the past, then you can also report or you can verify this activity with the legit admins. So you can see they're using net user command to see the local accounts exist in the machine, the net user domain, what domains are we connected to, what are the domain admins are, right? What are the basically the groups where as a part of the domain, they will list all the different account informations as a result of these commands in a CMD. Okay, or the PowerShell, they also use the PowerShell to run different commands. Similarly, they will also or they can also run the commands against the accounts which exist in a domain network. So then this is the way they can perform the discovery for the local and domain accounts. In case also if you are running the investigation and you want to see these commands, usually you will not see these commands in the normal Windows logs, or you might need EDR logs visibility. You might need to check the commands being executed on the command shell or the PowerShell, right? Then only you would see this command. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you. Otherwise, you can also in Windows security logs, it can be also logged, but to enable those logging, you have to enable some extra logging in the system server itself. It can be logged, and the Windows security event can also show you the what commands are executed during running of that process. Okay, but for that you have to enable extra logging onto the endpoints. Then next, they can use like application layer protocol. This is coming under as in, I would say, C2C. Okay, so now for command and control, let me go to the command and control. You can see in command control is another sub tactics, and you can see Oilrig is using two protocols here, a DNS and web protocol. Right, if I'm going back to this, you can see they're using web protocols, web services, HTTP, which is based on the port number 80, and they're using the DNS request also, and they're using this website specifically requestpin.net as a tunneling services. So if you will browse this website, you will understand they can provide you the subdomain kind of things, and you can send your data. Attackers can communicate by sending the request to their domains, and it will be collecting the informations based on that. An attacker can easily read out in friendly manner. So if you are seeing some DNS request going to such a request website, then you can also create a use case or alert in your company. If any DNS request going towards this domain specifically, then you can also maybe further investigate and to conclude if the machine sending the request to this domain is not possibly compromised by the oil rig. Okay, then again I'm coming to the collection part, and I probably will move to the other sub techniques in this matter in the collection. Let me go, where is the collection part? Collection, right? Automated collection and screen capture. I'm coming back now. So we're talking about the automated collections. Let me just now click on this view technique. So once they have connected, established their connection methods. Okay, I can understand first. Let me just read out quickly. Once established with system or network advisory may use automated technique for collecting internal data. Methods for performing this technique could include use of command and scripting interpreter to search or for copy information fitting set criteria such like location and intervals card. Okay, this is nothing such kind of scripts they have scheduled. For example, as you remember that we had discussed also, they can use scheduled task. Attacker can use a scheduled task for sending data in a regular interval of time, like 5 minutes. They will send all the files in the C folder like 10 MB. So they can also set up some kind of scripts which can be used to exfiltrate the information, right? And the same thing they're saying through the automated collection and the brute force, right? So this is about to gain two actions, right? Or to obtain the credentials, right? They might be brute forcing on the accounts. It might be doing passwords spray attack. They targeting the non-admin accounts for brute forcing. So you can also monitor if you are seeing some multiple failure authentication from one machine to other different known or unknown accounts. You can consider it to be a brute force, right? And then you can further look out if you can find any other correlating events which belongs to the oil rig activity, part of the oil rig activity. So now we can also go to the another sub techniques like where command and scripting interpreter. So they can use the PowerShell, they can use Windows command shell and Visual Basics to running the commands or to after compromising it. As I mentioned to you, attacker usually is using this such sub technique PowerShell, CMD and Visual Basics for communication, for sending scripts, sending commands, sending files, all right, for giving instruction to the operating systems to do that activity. And you can also read out some about the names, about the tools of macros they're using it. Credentials, so they might be now as per the, as if, for example, if your machine got affected with the oil rig, they can use this tool, Lexene, right. So now this tool is a password dumping tool. If you find some traces for the this tool or pickpocket for dumping the web browser, so you will understand when you're going through this particular video, you will understand about the tools which can be used by the oil rig, like this lex again, as again, right? It's different name. Okay, and pickpocket. So if you're seeing such tools presence in your network, then you can be considered that might be your machines are affected with oil rig because they use this, and this basically dumping the passwords uh, and from the machine that is already logged into this, and then they are also storing the password which is basically stored in the browsers, because usually or you're also saving a lot of passwords, and in case the passwords are stored in the Windows credential manager, the tool name is value vault, right? The attacker can use this value vault tool to also dumping the passwords. Then they can also run some kind of the applications like set util to decode the information based in 64 or they can also download the file by using this particular applications, or they're basically trying to download a certificate as well. But if you are seeing this particular application in EDR logs are trying to download a file from the malicious or non your bad URL, then you should be considered this suspicious activity. Okay, peeling utility channel between the compromised machine and to the attacker machine, like as I would say putty, right? Another example like putty, so they can use the peeling utility also. For exfiltration, they can use FTP channels or DNS over DNS protocol. For remote services, they can target the VPN, they can target the Citrix, they can target the OVA like Outlook web access. So if your company giving the opportunity or the options to the users of their company to log in through VPN, Citrix, OVA, and they don't have enabled the 2FA, for them that there might be more risky, and already target such services, the remote services, to get into the network or to get into the account to verify if the account's password they have collected is right or wrong, right? And another DNS tunneling mechanism to tunnel for C2C communication also, or to exfiltrate the information from the data, right? Indicator removal, after you are seeing this machine, the machine that you have being affected with this oil rig deleting the files which they use to download the payload, to download the other files, to transfer any files. They will be clean up their activity what they're doing into the machine, and that activity can be logged only and only if the AD are being logging into that, or through the RAM, maybe if that information is available until that reboot. All right. And they can also use some tools like the tool transfer, like netcat can be also used, Anydesk, VPN, the egress tools transfer, which is being already inside into your machines. They can also use those tools if you're using TFTP services, FTP services, PowerShell, for file sending and sending file from one machine to another machine. The oil rig also, capturing your keystrokes. So they basically in installing a key logger into your machine, and the tool name is basically key punch and long watch. You can understand from the next time if you talking about the key logger, you can mention about these examples also in the interview, and I'm sure interviewer will be very happy if you put these names in the interview and telling that these are the key logging tools which used by the oil rig and that advisory, right? So they will be very happy that you know about these stuffs very well, right? About the network discovery, right? There's another tool we understand about the network discovery. There is an NBT scan, there is a nmap used, but there's some other tools which might not be available in your AV or in the IP signatures, like gold irony, right? They can be used for performing network scanning. Let me just put this name, right? Let me put the name here, and I can see if we have any screenshot. Okay, like this is this tool. I'm clicking on the images only. Let me see what we can see with this tool specifically. Network scanning. I'm not specifically finding the information about this tool, but such controls which are using like IPS, IDS, WAF, or like AV, HIPS, EDR, those vendors being actively participating in looking into this, and they will be creating some threat signatures to trigger if they find any presence the hash value of these tools in your network. So I will understand, okay, this gold irony tool detected, and this tool basically is a network scanning tool also. If you find the presence of this tool into your machines, then you can understand this is not a normal tool which is easily available onto a machine. This is a hacking tool which attackers basically doing installing into a machine after compromising it, and to download and to doing scanning in your network, right? And then they're obfuscating the files with informations, bin basic 64s, and might be they sending it
Sending it, and then let me just read about the indicator removal from tools. Oilrig have tested malware samples. So once before, understand, they are smartly targeting your company. For examples, they would test their viruses before targeting your company. They will test on the virus loader also to see what presence they can get if they will send this file to your network, whatever the tools you are using. If that tools can get it better than micro or any antivirus vendor, then they will not use those tools, right? They will be creating and they will making sure that they are obfuscating their malware trojan before delivering into their network, right? And then we have some other information about like dumping the password from LS memory, LSS secrets, and cache domain credential. They are using these tools again, mimikatz for password dumping tool, like Sagni, right? Again, dumping the password that is for the account which is currently logged into your machine already, right? And this is the tools, right? So you understand this name, Laxane and Mimikatz. If you find these tools, basically these are the password dumping tools. You can tell in the interview that the reason why this tool is important. If you find the presence of these tools is not usual tools, right? You cannot find these tools easily into a machine. If you find these tools, that means the machine is possibly have been already compromised. An attacker is using it to dumping the passwords, to dumping the password from the local memory. They're using mimikatz to dumping the password for the login users that is being stored the information as a secrets. They're using this tool and to like dumping the passwords that is being stored in the for your Outlook web access or currently loaded accounts. They can, for example, they already cached, right? That can also use this tool. Password policy. They have to understand about the password policy on an account, right? They can use this command, right? What account, basically what is the configuration, what is the policy have been set for an account in your domain network, right? So using this command, these commands, understand these commands. So when you are going in an interview and telling that you know how to investigate the logs in the EDR, so maybe interviewer asking you what commands you can see, what commands you will be looking into the EDR logs. So you can mention about these commands like net account domain to see the policies configured for a domain account. This will be good examples also, right? What groups of the accounts are added to admin groups. You can tell these commands. You can tell about the domain admins attackers basically running this command to look for the domain accounts. If you want to looking for a specific group where the accounts added, the attackers using these commands, net group and the group name, and then forward slash and domain. So looking into the domain, they can be used phishing also, with an attachment with a URL, with the specific services like Facebook, LinkedIn, or any chat messages like B2B, or it's a business to business application they can use to compromise or to lure the user to click on it. Then after after they get into the machine also, they're doing the tunneling like over the port number 3389, port number 22, port number 443. They might be running a task list command in the CMD command prompt to see what are the process are running. Then they might be running to see what are the applications are installed, what are the app versions you are using. If they find any vulnerable versions, they can be exploited to get authorized or to get system privileges on that machine also. For remote services, they can use PuTTY or RDP for lateral movement, right? For example, they want to move from one machine to another machine, they can look for the services and the ports open. What are the connected ports from that machine to another ports? They can use the command netstat. You can find it here, right? Netstat type an to list about the open or the connect established connection toward the network ports. They can look by running this command ipconfig all to see how many interfaces we have. They can know more about the machine by running this hostname and system info commands. Yeah, they can use web shell also after to maintain their access to maintain, because if they exploited a vulnerability, you might patch the vulnerability later after a week. So they can upload a web shells. If you're running web services, they can use a web shell to communicate with the web compromised machine also, right? And there's so many things we discussed, right? This is very good information useful for. They can send you some word file enabled with the macro, and macro will be executing some other command, downloading some other commands also. After getting the compromised accounts, these compromised accounts can be used to sweep in the network, doing the scanning for the policies, other user accounts, right? WMI is also used by the attackers to running executions, or to interact. Basically this is used by the admins mostly, but if you're seeing the WMI users which is not by the admin user, then you can also ask to see what activity is being done by that users, what are being executed exactly, is it something suspicious fishy or not. This is all about, again, the scripting part we discussed already with the PowerShell VB script, and they can attach excels, right? And now standard HTTP request, they can see, you can if you are having IDS IPS, they might be able to detect some kind of the payload into that, and they can trigger signature for you. So I think this is a good discussion about this Oilrig advisory, right? And then we discuss about this is targeting, what tools they use, what tactics they use, what sub tactic they use, right? And then why and how they use. So if you find the presence of such tools into network, then you can further correlate what other presence you can see. If you can find 5 6 other hits matching with the same attacker group, then you can tell your company, I can find this many traces and this basically being used by this attacker group. So you can also tell your customers that this you are targeted by this particular attacker group or the group names. Okay, I hope you like this video. Please guys, subscribe if you haven't subscribed my channel, and then do comments if you want to cover me in a specific topic, and then live for you guys, because I'm teaching something new which I learned in my experience. I'm sharing for free, but it doesn't mean that you should just coming and going without liking and putting comments. If you like the video, just give me one comment, so I will be also appreciated by you guys. Otherwise I will feel demotivated and might I discontinue the sessions. So please subscribe, like, and then share with your friends, guys. Thank you.